There's no secret. Prince Dykes is very familiar with the private equity market. Actually, what I've been interning here for last couple of months, transitioning as I retired from the United States Navy, right? Got put into a good program. So I've been learning a lot about private equity, been learning a lot about private debt, a lot of that whole private market. But as I learn more and become more entrenched into the private market, even though y'all saw me have Adam Coffey here, the author of the Private Equity Playbook, I wanted to see what the greatest investor of all time thought about private equity, right? But without further ado, I found one of his clips. This is from one of his annual meetings. I'm pretty sure I was at this annual meeting. But seeing him, I remember seeing him speak about it, but I'm going to go through, play exactly what he says, and I'm going to give you guys and girls a breakdown. But ladies and gentlemen, y'all already know what time it is. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead.
Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, hit that like, comment, and share button.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of our ladies, you're now tuned into the Investor Show. As always, this is your greatest host, the Prince of Investing, Prince Dykes, coming to you guys live all the way from this beautiful city and state of Denver, Colorado. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, comment, and share button. And as always, I don't have a lot of time. I definitely know you guys and girls don't have a lot of time, so we're going to jump straight into it. Hit some comments below. If you're catching this live, let's go. Here it is. Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger. Oh, I'm going to put myself right there. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. Here we go. Let's go.
I would not get excited about so-called alternative investments.
So let me know if y'all can hear that. He said I wouldn't get excited about alternative investments. Make sure y'all can hear this too.
You can get all kinds of different figures, but there's probably at least $1 trillion committed to buying, in effect, buying businesses. And if you figure they're going to leverage them, 2 for 1 on that, you may have $3 trillion of buying power trying to buy businesses in the U.S. market, maybe something over 30 trillion now, but there's all kinds of businesses that aren't for sale in that thing. So the supply-demand situation for buying businesses privately and leveraging them up has changed dramatically from what it was 10 or 20 years ago. And I'm sure it doesn't happen with your Winnipeg operation, but we have seen a number of proposals from private equity funds where the returns are really not calculated in a manner that, they're not calculated in a manner that I would regard as honest. And so it's not something. If I were running a pension fund, I would be very careful about what was being offered to me. If you're going to have a choice in Wall Street between being a great analyst or being a great salesperson, the salesperson is the way to make it. If you can raise $10 billion in a fund and you get a 1.5% fee and you lock people up for 10 years, you and your children and your grandchildren will never have to do a thing if you are the dumbest investor in the world.
All right. Let's see before he goes to Charlie Munger there. He's essentially saying that, one second here. Oh, he's saying it's a little low. Let me turn that up. Hopefully y'all can hear that. I'm surprised that came out low. So here, this is what he had to say. So he's saying that in the private equity market, he's essentially saying that you have to put up the money, right? In the private market, he's saying, well, number one, first thing he noted was how the private market swole up over the last decade, 20 years. So he's saying you had about 30 trillion in businesses, but you have another $1 trillion that is looking to buy businesses. So the supply and demand. So he said there's $30 trillion worth of businesses out there. But he's saying that half of those businesses are not for sale, but you got over $1 trillion something chasing these businesses. So the supply and the demand, where is this going to come from? And then half of the businesses are not worth anything. What are you going to look out for? What are you going to be looking forward to? All right. So that's the first thing. Then he just said, hey, being a good salesperson, if someone is going to raise $10 billion, they're going to get 1.5% for 10 years. They don't have to be a good investor at all. that's not advantageous to the investor. He's saying that, hey, if you're going to get $10 billion, meaning that on Wall Street, you have to go raise money. You got a new fund. You got to get people to put money behind this fund. If you raise $10 billion, you got a management fee of 1.5. And with that 1.5, you're collecting that every year. You don't have to be a good investor in anything. So he's saying that, hey, that's why it'd be a better job of being a salesperson on Wall Street than being an analyst. So that's a pretty good thing. So he was saying that if you are a public pension fund, he would be a little weary. And what do you mean by being a public pension fund? If you're a school teacher, you're a firefighter, you're a police officer, your pension funds or your money is being invested to be able to retire you later. So you have people in charge of pension funds. This is what's targeted by usually private equity, private debt, things like that. You have to allocate these funds. So sometimes these pension funds, they hire a consultant, or they will go out and they will hire a consultant, or they may find a private equity, private debt fund because they want to make money back over the next decade that doubles, triples the market, what the market is doing. So he's saying that, hey, I'll be a little weary and that it's too advantageous to the salesperson than it is to the investor. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys. Let's see what Charlie got to say. He's going to throw it back to Warren.
Well, I think what we're doing will work more safely than what he's doing. But I wish him well.
Yeah, Brent, you sound like a guy that I would hope would be working for a public pension fund, because frankly, most of the institutional funds, we had this terrible right here in Omaha, and you can get a story of what happened with our Omaha Public Schools retirement fund, and they were doing fine, and until the manager started going in a different direction, and the trustees here, perfectly decent people, and the manager done okay to that point, and it became.
They were smarter in Winnipeg than they are here.
Yeah, well,
that was pretty bad here.
It's not a fair fight, actually, usually when a bunch of public officials are listening to people who are motivated to, who really just get paid for raising the money. Everything else is gravy after that. But if you run a fund and you get even 1%, of $1 billion, you're getting $10 million a year coming in, and if you've got the money locked up for a long time, it's a very one-sided deal. And I told the story of asking the guy one time in the past, why in the world can you ask for 2 and 20 when you really haven't got any kind of evidence
this is funny.
You are going to do better with the money than you do in the index fund? And he said, well, that's because I can't get 3 and 30.
What I don't like about a lot of the pension fund investment is I think they like it because they don't have to mark it down as much as it should be in the middle of the panics. I think that's a silly reason to buy something, because you're given leniency in marking it down.
Yeah, and when you commit the money, in the case of private equity often, they don't take the money, but you pay a fee on the money that you've committed. And of course, you really have to have that money to come up with it at any time. And of course, it makes their return look better if you sit there for a long time in treasury bills, which you have to hold because they can call you up and demand the money, and they don't count that. They count it in terms of getting a fee on it, but they don't count it in terms of what the so-called internal rate of return is. It's not as good as it looks, and I really do think that when you have a group sitting as a state pension fund,
or all they're doing is lying a little bit to make the money come in.
Well, that sums it up.
This man has this wonderful horse, and it's just a marvelous horse.
Okay, there you have it, right? Let's go. Well, first I got to give a shout out to my guy, Mario. What's going on, Mario? Then number 2, Dark Kermit says, I've seen this interview circulating lately. Yes, it has been because private equity has built up and they want to hear what people have to say. So I'll definitely check it out, listen to it. Now, one of the things, I was there at this meeting. I think this is like in 2018. This is the annual meeting, Berkshire annual meeting that's held in Omaha that this clip is taken from. And this is like the open Q&A that they have. So I was actually there when they was, and I watched them say this live. But at that time, I didn't really have an understanding like I have today of private equity. I was kind of listening to them like, okay, I've heard of that, but I don't really know how does that work. But okay, whatever. But now that I have an understanding, getting into it and understanding how it works, I can see what Warren is talking about. But I will say this, back when Warren was speaking about it, I noticed today that that information is kind of obsolete because I get what he's saying. He's saying, hey, you're gonna commit money, you're gonna turn money into someone, and you're not gonna be able to see a return. That was true, but it's not true anymore, right? And it's not true anymore because of strategies have changed. People now are saying, hey, you cannot collect the fee until the money is invested. So I have seen strategies where people are like, hey, you commit the capital, but we don't collect the fee until the money hits the ground and is actually being invested and we're managing this money. Not just you commit the capital and we're collecting the fee off the rip without doing anything and we win regardless. So that's why Warren is saying it's a one-sided victory because hey, you get my money, you get a fee guaranteed regardless of the performance. You get $1 billion, 1% of $1 billion is $10 million. You're guaranteed to make $10 million over the next decade. And me as an investor, I got to hope for the rest. That's kind of what he was kind of alluding to about that. And he feel like it's swollen up so much that it's hard to get good deals with the market cap versus private equity market cap, the public market cap versus the private equity market cap. So it might be a little convoluted, but I wanted to kind of share his opinions and to see what he thought about this whole explosion of the private equity space in the world. But you don't hear a lot about it because it's usually the private equity world is kind of put to the elite people and accredited investors who can get involved with it. Okay, so it's private, it's nothing you can see on the public market. The valuations are calculated totally different, it's illiquid, but is done very well and people money has exploded. So that's what I want to share with you guys and girls. What did Warren say? That's taken from a Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting. Just kind of getting his thoughts on it. But I'm going to be back with some more current stuff that you guys and girls probably want to hear. But I was just up late night. You probably can see my hair looking all scrunchy and stuff like that. But just something I was just reading and wanted to share as I was doing my studies. But until the next video, podcast, cartoon, or whatever that y'all see me do around the globe, y'all already know my name is Prince Dykes. I'm the Prince of Investing. Peace. Be safe. I'm out. And thank you.